Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the most entertaining film and TV podcast in the world, House of the Dragon by Story Archives. I'm your host, Mario Busto, alongside
the other host, Zachary Newton. Welcome back.
We're back with episode 6, appropriately titled The Smallfolk. Although I thought we were going to get a little, there's just the kind of dynamic that they do in a lot of TV shows, not just Game of Thrones. If you want to have, you might hear sirens in the background over here, Zach, because I got like cop sirens, all sorts of sirens just going crazy outside right now. They're probably looking.
No worries.
There's probably like a small folk rebellion nearby. Rhaenyra probably dropped off some food. And
I thought they were looking for Daemon.
Look, Daemon's been tripping balls in Harrenhal for 4. Are we going on 4 episodes of him tripping balls?
Honestly, yeah, I think so.
I think
it's been most of this season.
I think Maester Alice Rivers over there is like probably the greatest cognitive behavioral therapist in all of Westeros. She's just pulling some sort of weird, I don't even know, some sort of new therapy involving dream hypnosis, where finally, after about 3 episodes, Daemon has finally caught, the inkling that cup in front of him is probably poisoned with something, probably weirwood tree paste, as we have been informed a little bit about what's that has some sort of psychedelic properties. But he is finally, the straw that broke the camel's back, as that famous saying goes. The straw that can break Daemon's back is anything to do with his brother. And he's having these, I guess it's an improvement above the incest, sleeping with your mother, very Freudian dreams that he was having in the previous episode. But he can't deal with the dreams regarding his brother, the fact that he let him down. And really the common theme about all of the dreams he's been having in Harrenhal has been his deficiencies, his lack of accountability, responsibility, leadership. And he totes himself as this strong leader, but he's failed and not been accountable in so many ways. And Alice calls him out on that, to the point where I'm like, all right, what are we doing here? Is she just like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting? Does she see the potential of greatness in Daemon, or does she have more nefarious ends and more nefarious ambitions for herself? I do hear, actually, I don't want to spoil that, because I've heard some things about Alice Rivers. I won't say one way or the other what's up with her, but made me think that she was kind of on his side, and she confronts him in a way that calls him out in everything that we know about Daemon, which is when the going gets tough, Daemon gets on his long-necked dragon and flies away. And
gets going.
She called him out on his shit. She said, listen, the winds are going to change in 3 days. And the winds, in fact, did change, because I think they all but confirmed that Alice kills Grover Tully, or at least ends his misery, because he was already kind of sick before that. But all sorts of stuff is going on in Harrenhal. What was your take on it? What would you think? Overall impressions?
Well, it took Daemon long enough to figure out that he's probably getting poisoned. I do kind of think, though, that like there's this really weird thing where like what he's getting in Harrenhal is probably the medicine that he needed.
Yeah, right.
Like that's how it kind of feels to me. The first episode or 2 where he was in there, I wasn't quite sure where this was going to go, but I feel like this is kind of that kick that he needed to kind of come around and I guess get back with Rhaenyra, which is its own.
Well, do you think
taking its own pivot at this point?
Do you think that's happening here? Because I sensed it last episode. I didn't say it, but there was a lot of sexual tension between White Worm and Rhaenyra, and so it came to a head this episode. What do you think of the whole, Rhaenyra White Worm hookup? Because I think there's kind of similar chemistry between Daemon and Alice, and it's my point in the beginning of the episode that I'll finally finish is that there's this kind of dynamic that the writers do. And if you want to ever look at these patterns, you can kind of just like see one storyline with one side, and then look at the other storyline with the other side. And Game of Thrones and the writers for House of the Dragon do an excellent job at that. And I'll kind of bring it up right now.
Yeah.
On one side, you see Rhaenyra with Myseria. Myseria says she's on Rhaenyra's side, but we don't really know what her end game is, right? Could Rhaenyra be leading to a terrible strategic mistake on her part by getting involved in another fling? This is kind of a return to the Rhaenyra of old, who was like a philanderer, just hooking up with everybody. It's kind of a return to a form for her. Maybe she needs it. Maybe she needs a little bit of a release valve here, because She's got her ponytail in a tight wad over there.
She needs something because like I'm kind of getting a little sick of the woe is me bit from her.
What am I supposed to do in my dragon here? Shut up.
All right. Keep going.
Just do something about it. Just shut up and stop complaining so much. So you got that with White Worm, right? But it could be a horrible timing, right? Because everything is going well for Rhaenyra. She just can't see it. You know, we see, for example, Adam is presumably tamed Sea Smoke, which was a hilarious. I loved it. I was clapping at that part because I was screaming for some action in this episode. And I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of this episode. Every episode has been my favorite so far. But just I was waiting for some dragon taming action, and we were just getting teased with it all episode, and we got one. Although it was off camera, which sucks. But
yeah.
So Rhaenyra's got that going on. She's got Rhaena at the Vale. There's a secret dragon over there flying around. We don't know which one that one is. Although I have a suspicion that it might be the one that they call Cannibal or Hannibal or something like that. I have a suspicion, but I'm not sure. Okay. So you got that going on in her favor. You got the Smallfolk rebelling in her favor. You got Aemond pretty much being plotted against by several people in the Red Keep at the moment. You have Grover Tully, who's just died. You got Daemon having this, epiphany of morality over in Harrenhal. He seems like he's going to kind of just come back, which is going to just give her a ground army, right? So everything's going well, and she might screw it up with this little fling she's got going on with Myseria. But to my point about the differing and kind of conjoined storylines, and interrupt if you ever want to throw a thought in there.
Yeah.
You have a potential affair with Daemon and Alice going on as well, right? And then the Smallfolk storyline, you got the Riverlands folk, right? Those are some Smallfolk there.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Smallfolk in the Red Keep. There was another major glaring one, but I'll get to it later. But what are your thoughts just tactically of what's going on for the Blacks here, and in terms of what could go wrong? I feel like we're on our way towards a self-inflicted error here of timing for Rhaenyra.
Yeah, I don't know that there's going to be too much that comes out of this thing with Myseria and, Rhaenyra. I feel like this is just more of like a fling to throw us off than anything else and keep us guessing on what's going to happen with Daemon. But I mean, I could see a move here where maybe Rhaenyra can still win without Daemon and his land army if they're able to tame a few dragons successfully. I mean, we got one this episode, Sea Smoke. You've got like another, one or two out there that we might be able to grab. Like that might be enough to do in Vhagar and the rest of Aemon or Aegon, whoever's ruling at the time, their army. So definitely a lot going on. I will say, this was not a bad episode. It was, I think, my least favorite of the season, though. I think it moved really slow. I didn't like all of the teasing that we got, to your point. And I don't feel like we saw enough progression really happen with Daemon. Like, there's just too many things that just feel like they're still up in the air. We have no idea where they're really going to land.
I mean, I guess we could squabble about the lack of progression, but I disagree with you. I mean, look, I think we just grow up in this microwave society where we can binge television shows, and this is just what it was like. You can't speed up. When you speed up character arcs and you speed up storylines, what you get is the end of Game of Thrones. Oh
yeah, we don't want that.
So it's like pick and choose. You're gonna get some setups. I thought we were gonna get some sort of action in this episode, but it almost clearly is going to occur next episode, and maybe it won't be next episode.
Maybe even the next. It might be the next two, though.
It might be
well.
the finale, and it might just be the finale because there still needs to be a lot of chess pieces that move into play here.
There was again, this episode wasn't bad. Like, I didn't hate it or anything. It just wasn't my favorite. There was a lot of things that moved, but it was like watching a big wall take like an inch step forward versus seeing some characters actually make significant headway, with the exception of maybe Adam.
It's all
and the brothers there.
It's also fascinatingly well done, though. I mean, you have in the beginning you catch the Reigns of Castamere song playing in a very orchestral score that they have going on to introduce you, right? They don't give you that cop out lower thirds, right, where they say Casterly Rock or, wherever he's at that point, right? I don't think that was Casterly Rock, but nonetheless,
no, I don't think so.
They give you their world building, and you are forced to catch on. Your own curiosity has to make you connect the dots, and I think that's what a good world building show does. I mean, I was skipping to the couch, glass of whiskey in tow. I was skipping to the couch, like, there's no other show that has this sort of appointment television feeling to it, and I'm gonna miss it because we're probably not gonna get another season for another 2 years. I could be wrong. Maybe it's next year. But yeah, overall, I mean, I just look forward to Sundays, man. I look forward to Sundays because of House of the Dragon, 9 p.m. So
I do too. But now I look forward to it because I have a picture in my head of you skipping to your couch with a glass of whiskey.
It wasn't so much of a skip as a fast walk. I don't think I can skip, but how do you skip? What is a skip? It's like
it's skip. It's like 2 hops
when you
kind of
just like jump up in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I can skip. Anyway,
you gotta be able to skip.
I got rugs everywhere. If I skip, I'd probably trip. I don't have like those protectors underneath the rugs, so I've almost eaten it a couple times. So yeah, skipping.
You gotta tame those speed walks.
I got a sign in my house that says no skipping. Anyways, I'm all on King Aemond. I love Aemond. One of my favorite characters. I'm for the chaos in the Red Keep. But he's taken a full-on descendant. He's descended completely into tyrant mode here.
Did not expect that to happen though? Like, I feel like that was just kind of a given.
I was kind of taken aback by it. It feels like Targaryens just kind of lose their mind the moment they get power. I think there's a famous line in the show that says, the gods flip a coin when a Targaryen is born, pretty much, as to whether he's like an absolute savage or whether he's good. And Aemond, it just seems like he's just doubling down. And we talked about it. I said that him trying to kill Aegon was essentially crossing the Rubicon of all morality of his, right? You can't trust somebody who would kill his own brother. And he's still flirting with that idea. And there's a lot of just scrambling for power and self-preservation in the Red Keep right now. I mean, you have Larys, who very much puppeteered his way into the ear of Aegon. And there's kind of this emotional moment with Larys and Aegon where they relate to each other, or Larys more relating to Aegon in this moment, right? Talking about his birth, how his foot was so twisted that his father accused people of putting a spell. He accused some sort of sorcery behind why his son came out so deformed. And for the first time, we ever see kind of an emotional Larys. And we've always kind of hypothesized about what the hell is this guy's goal, right?
Yeah.
If any two people have anything in common, in reality, it's Aemond and Larys. Why? Because of the line that Alicent says to Aemond in this episode when she's removed or stripped of her seat on the council, which is, have you not avenged enough? Have the victimization, there's something of his,
have the indignities of your childhood not yet been revenged?
Yeah, that must be your favorite line of the episode or something like that.
It's one of them, yeah.
If anybody has anything in common with Aemond, it's got to be Larys. And I don't think Aemond sees it because he's so big on protecting and preserving the unity and the strength of the house. I mean, it is ironic that he tried to kill his brother, but his brother was a threat to his house, if you think about it. Just his absolute buffoonery of
he was a horrible leader.
Yeah.
Did not know what he was doing. I mean, like, the rat catchers just hanging alone was bad enough for publicity here. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Aegon kind of being a threat there.
But if you think about it, Larys and Aemond would be a match made in heaven. Larys is somebody who had tremendous indignities in his youth. You can see the pain in his eyes when he's talking about how the people would turn away from him or stare at him, right? So you see that, but Larys is trying to make that connection with Aegon, who's now going to be deformed and the kind of scene at court, right? And I don't really buy that Aegon's going to bounce back as some sort of great and noble king. I think if anything, the third party here is Daeron, which, well, let's just call him Daeron the Kind, as Sir Gawain Hightower, describes him to Alicent. Well, we haven't met, and I'm assuming if we don't meet him this season, we meet him in the third season of House of the Dragon. But He's definitely got to play a role at some point here, because a thought I had when we hit record in this episode is I don't see how the Greens win this war knowing all the pieces that are moving in favor of the Blacks right now, in such a way that I think their only way towards victory is that somebody major on Team Black has to betray Team Black and come over to Team Green. Whether it's a Rhaena type of person with the dragon, or just somebody has to go and change allegiances. And remember, Rhaenyra's giving dragons to, like, she's trying to find dragon riders for people. And I know Sir Stefan got, scorched, and we'll talk about that. But there could be one of these riders that just changes allegiances and leaves Rhaenyra. That's a possibility.
It also might not be somebody changing allegiances so much as it is somebody, I guess, becoming a third wheel here, which I think totally, it could be Daemon. I still think he's going to come back over to Rhaenyra. At least that's how I'm feeling right now after the last episode.
You mean like a Stannis Baratheon type?
He wants to take the throne for himself. Like, at least that is what he literally said in the last episode. And, Rhaenyra can come and rule by his side. So it's not out of the question, in my opinion. Like, I do think it could happen, though I think it's less likely after seeing this episode.
I think there's absolutely no chance. And I've been on that camp from the beginning that Daemon will turn on Rhaenyra. I just don't see it. Even White Worm goes so far as saying, like, he's just the type to disappear. He doesn't actually, like, switch up on you, Mm-hmm. You mentioned something there about the third party. What was it, the note that you just made?
I was just talking about there could be somebody that becomes a third wheel here, just trying to get the throne for themselves.
Yeah, it could be. I lost my train of thought of where I was going with it, but Aemond's taking dramatic moves here. I mean, he's making an alliance with the Triarchy. As we know, they clogged up the stepstones, right? That's what it's called, the stepstones.
Yeah.
And he's doing essentially, we thought Aemond would be kind of like this shrewd leader who kind of assesses things wisely. I know he's violent. I know he's aggressive and everything like that. That's fine. But he's always made sound decisions. Even bringing Otto back as his hand is a pretty sound decision, right?
Yeah.
But making an alliance with the Triarchy, I honestly think it's a win-win for him to make an alliance with the Triarchy. Because even if, like, all he needs is the Triarchy to do their job, and then he can burn the Triarchy with Vhagar if he wants, if you think about it. I think Aemond's the type to do whatever necessary to sustain, some sort of stability, right? So,
and his own power, yes. I agree.
Exactly. So if the Triarchy weakens the blockade and they all die, he goes over there, he burns up the rest of the blockade, and then he burns the rest of the Triarchy. I mean, he's already burned his brother. That's my kind of point with Aemond, is that he will do whatever. His word doesn't matter. He will do whatever needs to be done. He even went so far as kind of throwing soft threats around the entire episode to the Maester, who's treating Aegon. And everybody knows Aemond's behind the reason Aegon's scorched like this, right?
It seems like the unspoken thing everyone knows.
Yeah, and he even threatens his brother. He says, "What do you remember?" And he says, "Nothing." Aegon knows. Aegon remembers everything because you can see him pretty much crying and whimpering. He remembers who the hell Dracarys him. So, what's going to happen there remains to be seen. But I don't think Aemond's, getting rid of that. I remember my point that I wanted to make when you said the third party thing.
Okay.
Daemon has absolutely he is not next in line. Viserys named his daughter. There's Aegon who's born. There's Aegon's. I don't think Aegon has any more sons, but he has Aemond. Okay. Daemon would be a true usurper. Like, he would literally need to usurp everything because he has absolutely no claim unless he kills Rhaenyra, kills Aegon, kills Aemond, kills Jace, kills all of Rhaenyra's sons. Okay, kills his own sons. Oh, he has to kill everybody in order to have a rightful claim to this throne. So Daemon has to go a pretty long way. And considering he's already haunted in his dreams because he clearly feels bad about the crappy things he's done in the past, even going back to the day that Viserys' first son died, and remember that scene of Daemon in the brothel where he said "heir for a day," even that haunts him. So, I just don't see it happening.
I hope it doesn't. I mean, I do want to see Rhaenyra ascend the throne, or at least win battle or have a battle or something like that.
Or Havel. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, which we might get a little bit of something. I don't think it's gonna be much next episode. She flew off. She'll probably just be going over to meet Sea Smoke and who the new rider is. Would be my guess.
Yeah. Let's talk about Operation Dragon Rider. R.I.P. Sir Stefan. Did you think Stefan was gonna die, or did you think he had any shot in hell of taming Sea Smoke?
I went into it expecting him to die. Like the moment like he entered the room and Rhaenyra's like, I've got this great idea.
You thought he was gonna
Let's
die?
put you on a dragon. I'm like, this is not gonna end well. And then I got my hopes up a little bit because I'm like, okay. But then it quickly turned into like, dude, the dragon's playing you. Like,
okay, so
yeah, that's where I was at.
The dragon played him for sure. By the way, I love the build up. I love the dragon tamers, the people who are singing the old Valyrian songs.
Yeah. I did have a question though.
Go ahead.
What are they supposed to do with those sticks? Like
nothing, absolutely nothing. I don't know what the point of those sticks is.
It seemed completely useless.
All
right, go ahead.
Those sticks are the equivalent of like, you ever seen the Tiger King or what it was called?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like the equivalent of those guys telling the tiger to like calm down. Like all you're hoping is that the beast before you has any semblance of like, this person means me no harm.
By wielding a mighty stick.
Yeah. Like even Sir Stefan grabbing for his sword, not a good first move, buddy.
No, it wasn't.
Just don't do it. There's no point. What are you gonna fight the dragon with your sword? Like it's not going to work. I thought he was done for the moment he said, "I did it" or something like that. Yeah. I was like, all right, no, okay, 100%. This is classic Game of Thrones. He's gonna get scorched here. But I did love the whole
slow death too.
Yeah, I did love the whole ceremony and ritual of it though. Of the singing, the way they build up the dragons, because I think if done incorrectly, the dragons could be a little annoying, But the way they build up the dragons is such a larger than life. All of these individual dragons have personalities of their own.
They do.
It's very interesting.
It's kind of like the Greek gods or something. Like they all have their own personality, their own like specialties, if you will. But they like honor them, like that you're performing a ritual just to bring them about, which is also interesting that they're able to kind of hail the specific dragon that they want. I don't know how they do that. That's like, do they have their own songs, do you think, or is it just a matter of luck?
I think they could have their own songs. I think they individually have their own songs. We saw them in the first episode of the first season of House of the Dragon singing the songs, and Rhaenyra shows up, right? I believe that was the pilot, but yeah, not so good for Sir Stefan.
No, he's cooked.
What? Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please. I'm talking 80% of the
No, I was literally just gonna say I like how they just switch up and make the fact that he got blasted by fire be so dramatic in this, because it's just him. If this were on a battlefield, he'd be Ash, but he's just like rolling around like Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar or something.
Yeah,
from Star Wars.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit dragged out, but then again, maybe Sea Smoke dialed up the heat just enough on the fire to like cook him,
It could be.
They can send him to King's Landing now to feed the people. Sorry, Sir Stefan. That was too soon. So much for Targaryen blood, though. That means Sir Stefan should have had some Targaryen blood, which means that Targaryen blood is irrelevant as to whether a dragon will bond to you, right? And we see that bond in this episode, right? We've seen Sea Smoke almost sensing that his future rider is out there, right? We've seen early in the season Adam collecting crabs by the beach, and we see Sea Smoke just flying in the distance, almost maybe kind of like, wait a minute, there's someone down there who's supposed to be my rider. And Sea Smoke almost essentially is like toying and playing with Adam in this episode, right? I mean, I don't know if Sea Smoke's a boy or girl, but we'll just say Sea Smoke was just flying around. I don't want to misgender Sea Smoke.
I don't know what it is. Let's see here. I see he, so it might be a male dragon here.
Yeah. Sea Smoke. I want to make a couple of commentaries. Like, there's this debate, right, within the nerdy Game of Thrones community as to whether only Targaryens can ride dragons or not. And that's kind of Rhaenyra's thing, right? Is that they're going to look for people with Targaryen blood. Now, the Valerians do have some sort of Targaryen blood or dragon rider blood. The Targaryens were not the only dragon rider family in Old Valyria. There were others. They're the only surviving dragon riding family, which would be a very interesting prequel show, to be honest, if we ever got that.
Yeah, I would love to know about Old Valyria.
Yeah. But there seems to be this clear indication, almost kind of like a spiritual bond between Sea Smoke and Adam. Because there's all sorts of people running around on the beach, but Sea Smoke immediately isolates Adam and like makes him run off by himself, right? It's almost like, hey man, stop playing around. Like, all right, I need you to tame me already. Like I'm itching, right? So Adam clearly is the selected rider for Sea Smoke. Whether Sea Smoke's able to sense that Valerian blood, that Targaryen blood in Adam, or whatever it is, but Sea Smoke, he doesn't pick Alan. He goes straight to Adam, right? So, and maybe that benefits him, right? Because Adam's a little more like Laenor. Laenor kind of just wanted battle and he wanted like the glory, right? Didn't seem to want the titles. Adam seems to want to be Lord of High Tide, right?
Yeah,
the Lord of Driftmark.
Yeah, he wants to be honored in some way. I think he's just tired of being a bastard.
Yeah, I think Sea Smoke sees that in some sense, but I have no idea how it's going to work for the other 2 dragons, right? Or 3 dragons, right? Because you still have Silverwing, and you have what's the other name of the other one? Vermithor.
Oh, yeah, I think it's Vermithor.
Yeah, Vermithor, and then you have the mystery dragon at the Vale, which is interesting. I think Rhaena is going to just take fate by the horns or the dragon wings.
You think she's gonna go for it?
Oh hell yeah. Okay. Well, they can't do all that build up, her playing with that dragon toy for like 30 minutes in this episode. They can't do all that. If they do that and they don't give this girl a dragon, I will revolt.
I kind of half expected this just to be more of a situation where she like sends a letter to her mother.
No, F that. Her mother hasn't done anything in her favor. She is gonna do whatever she wants to do now, and probably the prime candidate to turn on the blacks, to be honest. What if Aemond's like, hey, Rhaena, you want to be my lady wife? You want to be my queen, and we just take over the king? Maybe Rhaena does it. You never know. Would be interesting.
I don't know about that.
Would be interesting.
It would be interesting, but I don't think we're going down that road.
Who's she betrothed to right now? She doesn't have a husband, so maybe it'll be Adam. Maybe it'll be Adam.
Yeah, I mean that might. It's a little. Well, I was going to say it's a little incestuous, but everything.
Who are we talking about here? We're talking about Targaryens.
Yeah, I know. I forgot we were commenting on a Game of Thrones sort of series here, so apologies there.
Remember, the Targaryens are into all that stuff because they want to keep their bloodline pure. They don't want to give that power to other people, which interestingly enough, remember that guy we see in the bar, Ulf, I think is his name or something like that? The gray-haired guy who's kind of like the first victim of the propaganda at the bar that Rhaenyra is dropping. That guy claims to be a Targaryen bastard.
Yeah.
Remember, maybe he needs to get a dragon. You never know. I don't know how he gets over to Dragonstone, but they need more dragon riders. I could see him turning on Team Black. I could see the Greens need more dragons. Vhagar cannot do this by himself. So I don't know what's going to change for the Greens. They got Daeron, right? Daeron maybe can do an operation and sneak into Dragonstone and take a dragon. We don't know.
Potentially.
I think Daeron has a dragon.
They also don't seem.
I think Daeron already has a dragon. I think I'm wrong about that.
They don't seem like they are going to look for more dragons either. They're fighting a land war here more than anything else, and not fighting the blockade. I'm still surprised that we haven't seen somebody go blow up the blockade. I thought for a moment in this episode we were going to get something from Aemond, but it never came to pass.
It's really surprising because you would think that Aemond would figure out Caraxes is over in Harrenhal. I just killed Meleys, right? We have several occasions now of realizing that Rhaenyra does not go out on her dragon. So worst case scenario, I'm going to be going up against Jace and Baela, which both of their dragons are too little for Vhagar, right? So you would figure that he would have already taken that risk. But I was going to ask you, did you notice any sort of hesitation from Aemond of riding out on Vhagar now? It seems, at least to me, that now that he has the power, he's not in such a hurry to mount up on Vhagar and go be the first
and lose it.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't pick up on it quite as much as you did there, but yeah, no, I think that definitely checks out. And I would also be a little nervous to go out on Vhagar if I were him, just because you don't know what's going to happen when you come back. Like, okay, I don't know what you're going to have to
That's a great point. That's a great point. Do you think that he's more scared of dying on the battlefield, or do you think he's scared of coming back to not be king anymore?
I think he's more afraid of losing power.
So then that scene in the beginning where the Lannister Lord essentially summons him, right? Because classic Lannister behavior, I'm going to leverage the desperation of the situation, similar to our by the way, our president just, pretty much stepped down from wanting to run in the race.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think he pulled the Lannister. I think, honestly, Joe Biden pulled the Lannister. He said, I'm going to run this shit to the end. I know I can't run, and I'm going to run this to the end, and I'm going to make them give me the most juicy retirement package ever, whether it was Hunter and Jill or whoever. But I think he pulled the Lannister. He essentially summoned Aemond to the battlefield, and now they get to have their pick, and he gets to go off to the Hamptons or wherever he goes in Delaware and retire.
For sure. Yeah, no, I do think I think Aemond is really just afraid of losing his power. That and he doesn't want to be challenged in any way. So I think that was just kind of a double whammy here.
Would you?
I don't know if
would you go if someone just summoned you to the battlefield like that, or would you?
No, like, was that? I don't recall that being a part of the plan. So no, I don't think I would. I might send somebody else after there or out there if I could, which he does try to do with Sir Criston Cole. They're gonna go attack on two fronts here.
Does Otto ever come back?
I think so. I mean, you've mentioned early on in this season that Otto's not done. His story's not done here. I could definitely see him coming back. Like, I don't think any of us were satisfied with the conditions in which he left a second time, by the way. So no, I kind of feel like he's gonna come back. And it's interesting though. Like, I mean, even for Alicent's sake, I would hope so. She really has nobody over there on her side at this point. Sir Criston Cole's gone. Aegon's almost dead. Aemond's I don't even know what he is. He's like a demon over there. Her daughter is just vacant half the time, it seems. Like, it looks like she's lost her mind. So,
well, she said I think she said a prophecy in this episode, but I'm not entirely sure what it was. Which was this bird stopped singing or something like that. She said something like that.
Yeah, she did. It stopped singing. I don't know that it was a bird. I feel like it was more of a cricket or something. But yeah, it stopped singing. You think that means Otto's dead?
No way. No.
Well, I mean, what did you? What's the prophecy for? What do you think?
I have no idea. But she doesn't say random stuff like that. Like, this girl, everything she says happens. She's doomed, though, because everything that she predicts to occur, she has no power to stop. You imagine if you had the power to tell the future, but you could have no power to actually shape it or take it into your hand. That's torture.
That's like torture.
That is torture. That is literally torture. Now, I don't know what she predicted there, but I'm assuming the cricket stopped singing. It would be something. And I mean, I don't know. Does Rhaenyra do something stupid here? Because this episode ends in a very frustrating way, which is she flies off to see which rider took over Seasmoke. She doesn't know Corlys has any bastards. Okay?
No.
So is she going to fight Seasmoke and kill an ally? Like, I think she might do something stupid.
I don't think so. I can't see it happening. Anything's possible. It's Game of Thrones. Anything's possible. But I don't think so.
I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen there, but I don't think you can really communicate very clearly on Dragonback. But she should see, when she sees a dude who's not a member of the Greens, I don't even know who she would imagine could do it from the Greens. Daeron? Like, who is she imagining is coming over from the Greens and mounting on Seasmoke?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it's maybe Aemond. He'll claim too.
This changes everything, really, for Team Black. If Adam even decides to join up with Team Black, we don't know.
He might not want to die.
We don't know what Adam's gonna do. We are assuming Adam's gonna join up, right? Remember, Adam's frustrated that his father has only ever acknowledged Alan. He doesn't acknowledge him. So maybe, maybe Adam takes his talents to South Beach, aka Blackwater Bay, aka the Red Keep, aka Aemond.
You're comparing that to South Beach.
It's a basketball reference.
All right. Okay, I thought we were talking about Miami or something.
Yeah,
right.
we were. We were talking about, you're not a sports fan, Zach. You don't know the reference.
I'm not a sports fan.
I'll give you a rundown. LeBron in 2010, when he decided to come to Miami, he did a whole conference at a youth YMCA in Cleveland. And they asked him, it was a whole televised event. It was called The Decision on ESPN. That's what it was called.
Okay.
Right? And he was going to decide between several teams, namely the Cavaliers, the Knicks, the Bulls. The Bulls had a chance. The Bulls, they were going to go to Chicago, believe it or not. They were going to go to Chicago. I think it was LeBron who specifically wanted to come to Miami. But they were going to, it was like set in stone. They were going to go to Chicago. But no. Anyways, LeBron in the decision goes, this is tough, This fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. That's where it comes from.
Okay. All right.
It'll live in.
All right, I got it.
It lives in infamy for most of the world, but for us,
now I get it. And the other people that listen to this podcast that may not be sports fans will understand it too.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the next episode, Chess Pieces, where we leave off, because we've had two solid episodes of build up. And so up and coming, we have an absolute barn burner of last 2 episodes. Hopefully, we'll see. Maybe they give us another cliffhanger. They've been doing a little too many of those for my liking. But
just a little bit.
We have a storming of Harrenhal that should be happening soon. We got Sir Criston meeting the Lannister army out there to head towards Harrenhal. We still got those Greybeards. They're taking forever to come from north to south here. All season. I mean, we met Sir Cregan Stark, or Lord Cregan Stark at the beginning of the season, and he said he was going to send his Greybeards. They might be like in wheelchairs. They might literally just be senior citizens. Who knows? At the pace that they're moving south is taking forever. They're coming south. Okay. So we should have a massive Harrenhal battle between Vhagar, Caraxes, right? We have a potential new rider for Sea Smoke in Adam, maybe a potential ally. And we have a potential dragon taming in the Vale. Tully, the House Tully should raise banners pretty soon for Daemon.
That would be nice.
It's taken half a season, so it would be nice. We got this White Worm romance with Rhaenyra. I wonder if passions get out of control and Rhaenyra loses her sense of judgment, and maybe Myseria sees an opportunity for power. Yeah, you never know. Her story
reminds me a little bit of Larys.
Her story of how she got her scar was way darker than I was anticipating. Her father took advantage of her, and it's a horrible story. So I do wonder what happens with her, if she's gonna stay loyal to Rhaenyra, or if she's gonna take advantage of her desperation and kind of just use her. She has essentially weaved her way into her inner circle, or even more important than her council at this point.
Yeah, she's like her secret council. Yeah, and on top of all that, we didn't really talk too much about the Smallfolk in this episode. You literally, in King's Landing, you have all of the people that we see that don't seem to be very satisfied with the Greens and with their current king. So I don't know how that's going to complicate things, but it's definitely a good mental battle going on at home too.
And something has to happen with Sir Hugh over there, right?
Yeah, we've seen him like so many times, and it's just, all I know is he's got a sick daughter. They tried to escape, they couldn't escape, and I don't know what's going to happen now. You think he might conquer a dragon or something?
I think the only direction you can take him as a writer for the show, at least to what they're gearing up towards, his daughter has to die. His daughter has to die, and he has to attribute that blame because of the lack of funds that he did not get, right? The promise that was never given to him, and not being allowed to leave the city. So the rage and all of the goodwill that he had, right, and trying to have faith in the crown, all of that is dissipating. Just an episode ago, he called Melis meat, right?
Yeah.
I think we got a future rebellion leader in Sir Hugh there, if I had to guess. And let's not forget, this guy is a blacksmith, I believe. So he's making critical Maybe he has like a union strike with the iron workers of Westeros or of King's Landing. But he's definitely heading in that direction.
Yeah, I could maybe see him leading an army of militant citizens up towards the gates or something like that. Kind of putting the knife towards Aemond or something.
Yeah. I would assume we get a triarchy situation here. Thankfully, no Greyjoys. No Greyjoys.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. They were mentioned like ever so slightly earlier on in the season.
Yeah, Greyjoys are leaving them on red right now. They saw the message. They're gonna wait to respond. They're trying to wait till they're most needed to probably jump in here. So I'm assuming eventually they do jump into the war, but they're gonna see which way the tide turns.
Yeah. Well, I think they're kind of needed with the lack of food in King's Landing. Oh, but when I saw that first boat, I was wondering to myself, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, there is no way that one little boat's going to feed more than 10 people.
Yeah.
There was a lot out in the water, thankfully.
What happens if Aemond successfully takes Harrenhal, and then Jace's promise to the Tullys no longer can be acted on, really, because he's
Was it
not the Tullys, the phrase.
The phrase. Yeah.
Think about it. Then what?
Well, I mean, that would suck.
Well, then the phrase
you'd have to win. But the deal with the phrase was that they would get Harrenhal if the Blacks won. That was the deal.
Well, who's gonna honor that deal if they can still get Harrenhal by the victor, and they could stop the Starks from coming south? I don't think we're ever gonna see these South Greybeards. I really don't.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how far that march is. I mean, my understanding is the march from King's Landing to Harrenhal is like a 2-week march. So, although I feel like way more time than that has passed in this season already.
Well, it seems like Kristen Cole's just like teleporting everywhere while Daemon's tripping balls for an eternity over in Harrenhal. He's been tripping over there for 21 days.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yes,
how many battles have occurred since Daemon's been in there? Rook's Rest. Kristen's marched all over the Riverlands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Daemon has just been there having these dreams for 3 episodes.
And it kind of seems like we're seeing him in real time. Like, I don't think we're like seeing Daemon a month ago or like, some point in time in the future. Like, this seems like it's pretty in sync with what's going on around him. So, yeah, maybe Sir Kristen Cole's just really quick. That's all those horses.
Could be. All right. Any final closing thoughts here, Zachary?
I haven't heard my full name like that in a while.
Zachary of House Newton.
Zachary of House Newton. My coat of arms, at least one version of it when I look it up, looks a lot like the Lannisters' house, and then that also looks very similar to Flagler up here. It's interesting.
Yeah, mine has, I think, a lion on it as well. From Spain or something like that.
Seems pretty popular.
I think it's popular choice of animal.
Yeah, I guess.
Were you surprised to see actual lions in the cages? I don't think we've ever seen lions on the show, have we?
I don't think we have. I was kind of surprised to see it, but maybe that's how the Lannisters are such a formidable force. They use these beasts on their side. And lions, I'm sure elephants are talked about in, some of Game of Thrones and whatnot, but I haven't really seen them in battle.
Are you sure about that? Are you confusing this for Lord of the Rings?
No. I'm not. Though it has been a long time since I've seen Lord of the Rings. No, it was if I recall, it was from what was it? There was the army group funded by like the banks over in Essos.
Uh-huh.
They're guys that use elephants, and in Game of Thrones, when the Queen had them come over to King's Landing, they were upset because there was no elephants. Because they couldn't put them on the ships to bring them over.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's closer.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Any closing thoughts here?
No, I'm excited for what is hopefully going to be 2 pretty actionable episodes to close out the season. I'm kind of crossing my fingers on that one. I think we got a solid setup episode here. I want to see some pieces fall. I want to see some things happen at this point.
I think it's sure to happen. It would be amazing if they just dropped both episodes next week, just like a double header. That would be amazing.
Double whammy. That'd be wild.
That would be awesome. You saw the inside the episode. Any thing of note there to mention the behind the scenes? Anything that stood out to you?
Not terribly much. No, I mean, I kind of pulled that out a little bit earlier when we were talking about Alicent, the fact that she literally has nobody around her. Everybody's continued to be ripped apart from her over and over and over again, which makes me kind of think like Otto's gonna come back, because I don't know where else we're gonna go with her and her storyline right now. But no, outside of that, nothing extremely noteworthy from this one.
Well, I think we might see a coup within, right? I think we may see another coup, namely to get Aemond off of the throne, get Daeron on the throne or Aegon on the throne. And remember, we have Larys, who seems to have been activated here. You saw that look on his face when Aegon said, "Help me."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Larys' kink.
That's all he needed, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, all he needed was that "help me," and he's like, "Say less, say less, man, say less." We'll get rid of his other eye.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get.
He'd probably still do some pretty good damage there.
Yeah.
Though, I will say.
Well, Aegon had his feet up and everything, so he was probably enjoying.
Yeah, I bet that's why there was tears coming down Larys' face. He's just so beautiful. Yeah. But no, I mean, Aemond, for all the bad that he is, I mean, he does kind of see through the bullshit that is Larys pretty easily.
He sees through the BS. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and he does want to bring Otto back as his hand. At least that's the way I read all that. Well, I mean, he basically said it. Which I think is a very intelligent choice. I don't know that Otto would want the people to be in such disarray here. So I feel like for the good of the kingdom, Otto should come back.
Listen, bro, I was cheering, I was clapping when Alicent got removed from the council. I was ecstatic. I was like, get her out of here. Get her out of here. She wanted this so bad. Get her out of here. And then another thing, it's like, you step up, now you're the king, and everybody's just like, chirping up, and all this sort of hesitation, all this sort of stuff. Like, you had an issue with Aegon. Like, to me, they were trying to treat Aemond like Aegon in this episode. And granted, I thought he was acting a little bit unwisely, but I think Aemond's smarter than Aegon. I think he knows what's up. I think he's the kind of guy who has his own vision and nobody else in the room sees it. And he's just going to plow through it. And he's like, to hell with you if you disagree with me. I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm telling you what to do. And as Prince Regent, he's probably thinking like, I got a limited time here. If my brother wakes up, I got to get rid of all these people. I got to get rid of the Queen Dowager. I got to get rid of Cole, and
he's got a lot of people on his list.
He's going to have to wipe out his entire council pretty much. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you think he'll kill Aegon?
I hope Aemond
is bad.
I hope Aemond just goes full tyrant. Personally, it's the most entertaining outcome for me. I hope Otto returns, ironically sides with Aemond, and just preserving the house, and just goes full tyrant with his grandfather by his side. That to me, kill Alicent, do whatever you got to do there. I'm saying vicious, vicious. Get rid of Cole. Everybody, get rid of everybody. Okay, keep the Lannister guy. The Maester, he has to go too. He's a little bit too wishy-washy. Get rid of the Maester. Go bring Alice. No, don't bring Alice Rivers in. I want full tyrant Aemond. That's what I want. I think this show is more interesting with him in charge, and we'll eventually get to see the Daemon fight. But ultimately, I think who ends up on the throne is probably Daeron. I think Rhaenyra doesn't win this war. I think nobody who's currently fighting for the throne is going to win the throne. I think it'll be Daeron, who's not even looking for it. And it'll all point back to that quote from Alice Rivers, which is that the crown is not something to earn or something to chase after. It's not a reward to be gained. It's a burden to bear. And that's pretty much what I think the moral of the story should be, right? For finding a good leader.
Yeah, maybe we'll get another Viserys here.
Do you think she's
right.
like good natured, like she wants the best leader, or do you think she's ambitious?
Alice?
Yeah.
That's a good one. She's a really hard one to read.
Very.
If you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say, why are you putting a gun to my head? But then I would guess
I'd say, why do you have a gun in your head?
that's that she's probably ambitious. That's where I would lean towards on this one. I mean, yeah, you seem to know more than I do here, so maybe I shouldn't ask you.
I only know two things supposedly about Alice that I will not speak about.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Shall we get into a few categories here?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Favorite character of the episode?
Aemond.
Yeah. Aemond is good. It's hard to pick one. It's not Rhaenyra. I wasn't super satisfied with Daemon's
no. Yeah.
part in this episode. It was very lackluster compared to the last 2 or 3 episodes where we've seen him tripping in Harrenhal. So I'd probably side with you on that one. Yeah, Aemond I think is where it goes.
Adam was good too.
He was, but there wasn't much there. There wasn't too much. It's just nice to be like, oh, cool. All right, finally, this character that we've seen sprinkled in throughout the season here and there now finally has a role to play.
I also thought Sir Gawain was cool in the scene where Alicent's asking about Daeron and how her son is. I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah.
Okay.
All
right. How about favorite scene?
Yeah. That's tough. There was a couple of moments that I really enjoyed in the episode. I can list them out. I like the confrontation between Daemon and Alice in the next to the weirwood tree. I like that. I liked Aemond relieving his mother of her duty. I enjoyed that. And Adam and Sea Smoke's thing, as well as Sir Stefan getting burned alive. I thought that was the whole ritual of bringing the dragon up. I thought those were the most epic scenes in the episode.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. My favorite was definitely the initial dragon scene here with the burning man. That was great. Sad, but good. Outside of that, and it is kind of hard to just pick one. It's not Harrenhal this time. I've liked Harrenhal in previous episodes. It's probably, I think it's Aemond just
being Aemond, doing Aemond things.
Yeah, mostly Aemond's, conversation with his mother, with the council, with Aegon. I thought those were all probably some of the most interesting things, where it just felt like there was so much that hung in the balance of how those conversations went. So I quite liked those. How about favorite lines?
I like the line Alicent said to Aemond. I'm not gonna lie. Have the indignities of your youth have not been something, I don't know.
Yeah.
What did she say there?
Yeah.
You had it written down.
Have the indignities of your childhood not yet been avenged or revenged? I kind of missed how she phrased it.
I thought there was also a funny line from Daemon in his first dream with Viserys where he says, "Did you say heir for a day?" And Daemon goes, "You can't possibly still be mad about this." So
he's always got the funny ones, though, doesn't he?
He's the comedic relief for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that line from Alicent. I liked from Alice the "You're not a player, but a piece on the board."
Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
That was good. I liked Rhaenyra's moment of slapping her councilman and saying, "It seems that I have forgotten to make you fear me," or something along those lines. Yeah. I didn't quite catch the full line. But it was my favorites.
Yeah, I believe it's my fault for having you believe you shouldn't fear me or something like that. Yeah, it's a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good lines in this episode, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. All right.
Well,
that's it.
That's all she wrote, my friend.
All right, we got 2 episodes left, so we will see you all next week for episode 7.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode of House of the Dragon by Story Archives. You can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts, Apple and Spotify podcasts primarily. You can visit us on YouTube at Soapbox Podcast Network. Visit our website at soapbox.house. Email us at contact@soapbox.house. And we do have a link in the description below for our newsletter.
Perfect. Hey, make sure to comment on Spotify. They have comments now, so you can send us those comments there. We'll read them on the show if they're good. And as always, like, review, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Help support the show. And have a great week.